Good evening, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal, and this is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown podcast, slightly on location. We're once again in my living room. I am joined, if anyone can hear the little raspy noises, I am joined by Gary the Chinchilla. And of course, over the phone, I have the wonderful and multi-talented Andrew Lipke. Hello, sir.
Hey, hello.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We finally nailed down a date. For a while there, I was battling a very nasty cold. My voice still isn't completely back yet, but I'm here, I'm present, and let's get rolling. So
the ick has been going around.
The ick has been going around. And Andy, you've got an absolute beautiful voice. Let's just jump right in here. Did you hone that voice in on anything, or is that just how you regularly speak?
No, I just I keep my voice in shape by yelling at my kids on a regular basis.
Oh,
it builds the muscles, you know, and sort of works your tone a little bit. It's like weightlifting for your vocal cords.
Touché, sir, touché. And actually, right before the interview, we were talking about your zoo that you have at home. You have 2 little boys. You have a dog, 2 cats. Your renter downstairs has 2 cats, and then you have 2 snakes or 3 snakes?
Actually, 4 snakes.
You have 4 snakes.
Yep, I got bit by the snake bug. As a child, and always had pet snakes growing up. And then when I was an adult, I sort of inherited one from some family, and then I inherited another one from some family, and then my ex-wife was like, "Let's get a baby snake," and I was like, "Okay, why not? Let's get another one." And then she was like, "I'm leaving you," and so now I have that one, and then I was like, I want a boa constrictor. So I got a boa, and snake people will tell you, it kind of snowballs, and the next thing you know, you've got like 30 snakes.
Oh, Lord. Isn't that kind of like tattoo people, though? Tattoo people, they always start off with 1, then turns into 2.
It's just the same. It's just the same way.
Yep, okay.
I think I've got to cut it off right here, though. I've got to cut off the snake thing, because mice and rats cost money, so it's... You know, not a lot of money, but, you know, I think 4 is a good place to sort of chop it off there, especially since they live, you know, about 20, 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they live a long time. I've got a corn snake, my first one, he's coming up on 25 pretty soon.
Holy Hannah. 25 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
And my dog's 12. He's going to be 13 pretty soon, so that freaks me out too. He's going to be an old man.
Oh, jeez. Well, since we're talking about critters, Gary the Chinchilla is about 8 months old. He's 8 months old. And then, actually, staring at me from their tanks, I have 2 betta fish. One's about 2 years, and the other one is a year old. And they're both oogling me with their little eyes. Like,
no, a chinchilla, one of the cutest mammals on planet Earth. How did you end up with a chinchilla?
So here's the long-winded part of that story. So I originally wanted a hamster. Now backtrack about 9 months. 9 months ago, I said to my man Joseph at the time, I'm like, we're going to get a hamster. And he's like, no, they smell and they're stinky and, you know, they poop everywhere. No. I'm like, all right, fine. So I got off the hamster kick. Well, then he comes marching home one day and he says, I want to get a hamster. And I'm like, no, we already went through this 4 months ago. We're not getting a hamster. So lo and behold, after waffling back and forth, he convinces me to go up to the pet store and just hold one. Well, of course, you can't do that to me. I fell in love right away, and then I ended up buying the hamster. So it was Fuzzbutt. Fuzzbutt was first. Fuzzbutt was a good little hamster. And then I now know what rigor mortis feels like. Because I went to wake Fuzzbutt up one day after he didn't move for the whole day, and Yeah, it's a stone, just like a rock. So then, we went and got a replacement hamster. That replacement hamster lasted about another month. And now I know what slightly after rigor mortis is like.
Ooh.
And then I decided one more go. We got another hamster. Oreo was our last hamster. She died in the funniest way. She croaked while walking over to her food dish. So mid-walk, she was sprawled out. Rather funny anyway. But so then that was it.
She simply keeled over.
She just keeled over. Yep.
I'm not sure, but you may have to find a more reputable place to purchase your hamsters.
Yes, definitely. So then we were critter free for quite a while, and I was getting really. Yes, Gary, we're talking about you. I'm sorry, he's making noise over there in the corner. So then we were critter free. I was really happy with that, needless to say, and then one day I'm at work and I get a group text message of a fuzzy animal in the middle of our living room. And I went, what did you do? And that was Gary the chinchilla. So, and now he's been with us for 5 months? Yeah, about 5 months.
Well, good. I'm glad he made it past
he did.
1 month.
Yes. Yeah.
Barrier there.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you've had pretty good luck with all of your critters too.
I have. I've been very lucky to have such long-lasting animals over here, especially Cody, my bestest buddy. I did have to I had to put a cat down last winter. Well, I had it put down because he had a lot of health problems, and he was getting to be that age where it was like, well, he's getting kind of up there anyway, and it was time to let him go, and that was pretty sad. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? There's enough animals in the house already. Maybe it's cool to be just a one cat, one dog household. I mean, of course, the snakes too, but but as one does, I went to the cabin and had a few drinks on a Saturday night, and it came up on the neighborhood Facebook page that I'm a part of that a neighbor found just a sweet little black kitty who was freezing in the cold and didn't have a home, and she couldn't find any owners on the Facebook pages for lost pets or anything like that. And so I said, well, I guess he can come and live at my house. So he has been here ever since. He's been here, gosh, not quite a year now, but he's been the sweetest kitty. So I went back to a 2-cat household pretty quickly, I guess. But I'm a softie at heart, so I can't help it.
Yeah, no. To keep on our tangent here with the animals, I'm a softie as well. I often make the mistake of falling in love with animals right away, and that's the story of how I took in a stray cat. A few years ago now. I named her California. She was a calico kitten that I found under my car. And originally she was just going to trot away from me. And I'm like, wait, come back. And then she rolled on her back and showed me her belly. And I fell in love immediately. Brought her inside, fed her some ham. And then found out I'm allergic to cats. So that was that. But California went to a good home, and now I have a chinchilla, which I'm not allergic to. Apparently, I'm not allergic to rodents, so.
Oh, well, that's good.
Exactly, yeah. So, I finally have a fur child, I guess I could say. But Andy, let's jump into the whole reason why we're here in the first place: Duluth music with Andy Lipke.
That's me.
Yes. And now, Andy, you've been a staple in the Duluth music scene for quite a while, right?
You know what? I've been grinding away at the local scene here since about 2004. I moved up here from Minneapolis in September and started going out to the open mics and open jams and meeting people and started playing in bands pretty quick. And and over the last 15 years, I've been fortunate enough to be able to play with a lot of really great people and great groups, and open for a lot of really awesome groups. I studied jazz at UMD and got my my degree there in jazz guitar. And I just I wouldn't ever do anything else. I guess I love playing here, and the city has been a pretty good spot to be a music guy.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And now, Andy, I mean, so you went to UMD for jazz guitar. What drew you to Duluth? I mean, compared to the cities, I guess I always hear of people doing the opposite leap, but...
Oh, well, I lived in the Twin Cities for about 2 years.
Oh, okay.
I was getting a little tired of it. Just a little too expensive, a little too busy, a little too big, too crowded, too much traffic. It was a little too much of everything. But I was playing in bands, and I was having a good time and enjoying the bigger city life. But I came up to Duluth for a buddy's wedding up at Gooseberry Falls, and the reception was at the deck. And I just kind of fell in love with it. I thought, wow, it's beautiful up here. And I thought, I'm going to move here. So really just kind of on a whim, being up here for a wedding and thinking this place is cool. And that's what I did. I was working for Schmidt Music in Minnetonka at the time, and they were kind enough at the Schmidt Music in Duluth to let me just kind of transfer up here. So I had a job. So I had a house that I lived in with 2 other college students who I'd never ever met before. But I needed a place to live, so 2 complete strangers moved in with, no friends, no family up here. And I thought, well, why don't I go back to college? No distractions. I could just go back to school, having already gone to the community college in Rochester for a couple of years. I thought, why not just finish up here? It'd be something to do. And so I did. It proved that there were plenty of distractions, but I still made it through.
Yeah. And now, Andy, has music always been something that you've wanted to do? I know you said you went to UMD for music, actually.
Yeah. Music has always been a kind of my whole deal. Not my only deal, but my main deal. I think what started it for me was when I was probably in 2nd or 3rd grade. There was a girl in a grade ahead of me who played guitar in church once in a while. Okay. And when I was a kid, we had to go to church every Sunday, and I thought, wow, that's so cool. I want to do that, and it just always kind of stuck with me. And then I played viola throughout middle school and junior high, and I played trumpet all through junior high, and I had started picking up the guitar on my own when I was about probably 10 or 11. My mom had an old, crusty guitar in her closet that she let me dig around with, and so I started teaching myself chords and notes out of her old books. And then for my 13th birthday, they decided to get me an electric guitar. Finally, so I finally had an electric guitar, and then I started taking actual lessons too, which I kept on with all through high school.
Very cool. So you're very multifaceted, instrumental-wise, anyway.
Yep. I played tenor saxophone all through college, too. I played in the concert band at UMD.
Oh, my goodness. How did you keep all those instruments straight? Or did you not play them all kind of at the same time?
Well, it was really just guitar and saxophone that my focus was on. Of course, I had to take piano lessons the whole time I was in college, so I got 4 years of piano lessons. Guitar and saxophone was always my main thing. Well, guitar, but saxophone was always fun too. I don't play too much anymore, but I used to take it out to jam nights and open mics once in a while. But something like the saxophone, you really have to keep up on it, or you start to lose your embouchure. Your mouth muscles become weaker if you don't play every day or every couple of days. You have brass and woodwinds you really have to keep up on, or it's hard to pick them up again months later.
Oh, yes, I can attest to that. I played flute all throughout middle school, high school, and I put it down for probably about 5-6 years, and then I picked it up again. Actually jamming with people here in Duluth, and yeah, your mouth muscles hurt.
Yeah, even with flute, when there's nothing that actually goes in your mouth, it's still. It's still, you get that, you feel that tightness, that soreness.
Yep, definitely. So saxophone and guitar, do you have a favorite, or have you always been kind of more of a guitar player?
Oh, guitar has always been my main thing. Saxophone was a lot of fun. I don't play too much anymore, but it was fun to experience the music from a different place, because the way you wrap your head around music while you're playing a saxophone is much different from the way you view it from a guitar. A guitar is like a piano where it's very visual. You can look down, you can see all the keys where all the notes are. Each guitar string is kind of like a piano keyboard, and you just put the notes together and make chords and stuff. But a saxophone, it's all in your head. It's all in your head, where the notes are, where the chords are and stuff. Of course, you don't play chords on a saxophone the way you would on a guitar, but you still think in terms of chord changes and arpeggios and things like that. But it's all very it's all very in your head, and it's not something you can just look down and kind of see where everything is on the fretboard.
Right. And actually, something that I learned recently is that the flute and the saxophone fingering and chords, if you want to, notes, I guess you could say, are extremely similar, if not the same, in a lot of cases.
Very similar. Yep, absolutely.
Yes, very cool. So, hello, fellow music man, music player, woodwind, maybe? No.
Yeah, woodwinds.
Yeah, saxophone is a woodwind. Look at me, I've been out of band for so long, I don't even know what it's called anymore. Anyway, so Andy, so you came up here from the cities, moved up here, started going to college. What was kind of your first introduction into the music scene up here? Was that open mic? Was that going out with your college friends?
Well, I was working at Schmidt Music in the mall. So immediately I met musicians there, because everybody who works there is a musician. And also what really made it for me when I moved up here was the Sir Ben's open mic night every Tuesday. And that was my spot. Every Tuesday I'd be at Sir Ben's open mic, and that's where I met the guys I first started playing with, the guys I first started being in bands with and gigging with. I met at that one. I started going to some of the other open mics. The Beaners one, of course, was going back then. There were a few around town, but that Sir Ben's, that was the main one where me and all my buddies went and did our thing.
Excellent. And now, Andy, you said that you met some guys and did some touring and a couple bands. Do you want to jump into that for a little bit?
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, I've played with so many bands up here, and I've always thought of myself as kind of a hired gun, kind of a what's the word? Sort of a guitar mercenary. Like I'll go play with anybody. People ask me to sit in, I go sit in. If they need me to fill in for their lead guitar player for a gig, I fill in. I play with anybody and everybody, and just as much as I can play. That's always been my attitude. Is is there a gig? I'm there. Gig. Jams, gigs, open mics. Since I've had kids, that slowed down a bit, but I still, I still play in bands. I still gig all the time, as I'm sure people who see me play are aware. But the first real big sort of band that seemed to be kind of successful was called the Ant-Men, and that was fronted by Brendan Flynn, who was kind of a staple up here for years until he moved to the Brainerd area. Mm-hmm. I played in a band with him and some other guys for a few years, and we did a little EP, and we opened for Trampled by Turtles at Luce, and that was my first like huge wall-to-wall people packed house show I ever played, and that was pretty amazing. And and after a while, everyone in that band sort of moved away and did their own thing, and and then it would just go to the next thing. And I've played and recorded with so many people up here. I don't know if I could even make a list. Oh. It's been it's been a lot. I've done a lot of recording too, just coming in and doing guitar parts for people in the studio and stuff at various places.
Oh, okay. Let's talk a little bit about your studio work now that you mentioned it. So you're more of a hired gun. Guitar-wise, anyway. I guess what has your studio life been like? I mean, does somebody call you up and say, "Hey, Andy, I need this lead solo done in 2 days. Can you come meet me at, Sparta Sound or Sacred Heart?" I mean, is that kind of what we're talking about, or do you have?
Well, kind of. Somebody will say, "Hey, man, I'm recording an album. You want to come and lay down some guitar tracks with me?" And of course I'll say, "Well, yeah, definitely." Mm-hmm. I've recorded stuff with a lot of people, and it's just like that. They just they're recording an album. They want some lead parts, so they say, "Come throw some leads on this thing," and so that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. Very cool, Andy. Have you always wanted to be kind of a lead guitarist, or has that just kind of fallen to you naturally?
Well, yeah, it's always been my goal to be able to express myself on the instrument as articulately as possible, and it's always. I've always strived to be able to play like my heroes, and to be able to play as well as I want to be able to play, which it turns out is always better than I currently play. But that was always my thing, just to learn the guitar to the best of my ability, to be able to play any kind of riff or any kind of solo that I wanted to play, and that's just kind of what I've always worked towards, just to become as intimate with the instrument as I can, so that when I play, it's just like I can just think the music out of me, and I don't have to be concerned with what my fingers or anything are doing. I can just sort of think it out of myself, and it just comes out of the guitar.
Wonderful, Andy. Wonderful. I can. There are a few people that I know play like that as well. And it's absolutely beautiful to see people that just speak with their instruments. So that's excellent. Did you have any solo material recorded yet, or are you looking at getting that in the works?
I actually, I've got a lot of stuff. I had a band years back. Was it 2019? So I had a band called North Shore Trio from about 2008 till like 2000, probably 12, and we recorded an album with Jake Larson called "The Legend of Blacktop Jesus," and that was all originals that I wrote, and some that my bandmates wrote as well. I recorded an album, and we did a live thing. We had a live release too, but I recorded another album of my own music with my with one of my current bands, The Fiasco. We just did a CD last year, about a year ago. We've been kind of on hiatus for the last few months, but I do have that. So I've got 2 CDs released now of my own written material that I'm pretty happy and proud of. And then, of course, I've got all sorts of stuff that I recorded at my home studio, just different song ideas and different things that I do just for fun or experiments and stuff like that. But nothing I've really. I put things out on my Bandcamp page every now and again of just solo things or things that I've recorded on my own. But I haven't officially released any like solo stuff. It's always been with bands.
Mm-hmm. Right. Good deal. Have you ever thought of releasing a solo album, or will that come later on down the road?
Oh yeah, I've definitely thought of it. I've been writing. I've been writing a few new songs over the summer, and I've been writing a little bit more than I had been the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to just get back to creating a little bit more and not just going out and playing all the time. So yeah, I've definitely been toying with some ideas for solo projects. Either songs I wrote or one thing I'd really like to release is a recording of me playing an album of two-part inventions by Johann Sebastian Bach.
Oh, okay.
I have a piano book of those, and a few years ago I arranged one of them for guitar, and I recorded the two. Basically, the two piano parts are recorded separately on different guitars. So it's the piano music, but one guitar plays the left hand, one guitar plays the right hand. And I'm hoping eventually to do a whole album, or maybe at least an EP of those things.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Now I'm excited. Now you can't let that fall to the wayside, because now you said it, so now it has to happen.
I said it on the internet. It's there forever.
It is. It is there forever. Despite what people think, it is there forever.
Oh, it's definitely. I actually just earlier tonight I was listening to a podcast with Edward Snowden as a guest, and they were talking about just that very thing, about how everything you ever say or type or do with your phone is there. It's somewhere forever in a database, and they can go look it up anytime anybody wants.
Well, only if you're interesting enough, right? I mean,
only if you're interesting enough. So I think that the goal is just to be not quite that interesting. Pretty interesting.
So Edward Snowden was on a podcast. Interesting. I thought he was still on the run. Well,
he's over Skype. It was over Skype. Okay. He's still in Russia. Not really on the run, but just kind of hanging out in Russia.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez. Anyway, we could sit here for hours and hours and talk politics, and I kind of have a feeling that our political views are similar to each other. But I'm gonna not go into that this evening.
Oh yeah, you know what? I don't really even talk politics much. That's always been kind of a personal thing for me that I sort of keep to myself, just especially online.
Right. Yeah. I guess let's dive in. What are your views on online music and things like that? I mean, if you look back, even 10, 12 years ago, YouTube was kind of a thing, but it wasn't super huge yet, and Bandcamp was kind of a thing. iTunes was kind of a thing. I mean, SoundCloud wasn't even invented yet. Home studios were massively expensive, and you had them if you were a rich rock star. And now, I mean, fast forward, and I have a home setup with my laptop and a microphone and you on speakerphone, and that's how I produce a podcast. And I could, go record an album if I wanted to. And, now it's out on SoundCloud. I mean, things have just drastically changed. And the internet has opened up a lot of that. Have you found that as well, that the internet's really opened up a lot of gateways for you?
Oh, it's blown it all wide open. Anybody can record an album and put it online and have, I could take my iPhone and I could record an album on it with my acoustic guitar and have it up on YouTube, 20 minutes later. It's really fantastic, I think. and yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that's, maybe not so interesting or not so good, but there's also a lot of good stuff and amazing stuff that you never, ever would have had access to otherwise, because they didn't have the promotion, they didn't have the money for recording, they didn't have the record company or label backing them up. Now, you can find just the most amazing things that just anybody's doing anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've looked at this really big change, and even I was thinking about it today as I was sitting at my desk at work, just from where I was as a kid to where we are now. And, that iTunes only had what the record label sent them or what they could buy, and now iTunes has, your music, Mary Bue's music, all these independent artists are up on iTunes now, and it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know. I also kind of, on the flip side, I feel the waters are a bit muddy now that you have to sift through so much.
There's a lot to sift through. Things like Spotify and YouTube and Pandora are kind of cool, where if you get onto one artist, then they sort of suggest other things that kind of sound like that. So that can be hit or miss, but it can lead you down a rabbit hole of stuff that can be pretty interesting. For me, it's always been kind of word of mouth. Hey, you gotta check these guys out or those guys. And I go do that, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good, and I mean, I get nostalgic for the days of feeling that excitement of opening up the box that you get from the CD company and seeing the whole big stack of your CDs inside. There's something cool about holding a CD in your hand that you recorded and wrote and produced, and having that thing. It's the internet thing. It's valuable and it's great. But if anything, it makes it does make it a little less special. It makes it a little special because you go to the studio, you save all your money, you go to the studio, you spend hours in there until you lose track of time. You're doing the tracks, getting everything down, and then you send it in to the duplicators, and you get it back, and now you've got it. You can drop it off at the Electric Fetus or at wherever, and it was such a special, unusual thing, and now it's the trade-off of having so much access is like, I recorded a thing, here it is. It's not, it doesn't hold the same weight that I think it used to, and especially back in the days when when you had vinyl and stuff, and that was how everything got done. That was even more of a there were even more gatekeepers to that experience. Right. So we don't have gatekeepers anymore, really, but there's also something where it's not. You don't get quite as jazzed about it.
True.
Or maybe I'm just old. I don't know.
No, Andy, you're fine. I'm right there with you. And that jazzed was the word I was trying to come up with. I'm like, I'm running my radio show right from my living room now. This is really awesome. I can be in my slippers if I want to. But yeah, there's a lack of jazz to it.
Right.
I mean, I no longer have to get in my cold car and drive, across town. But there's kind of a lack to it. Yes, definitely. I agree. I agree with that. But speaking of which, so what do you have coming up in the future?
Oh, I've got a lot of stuff, really. I've been for the last year and a half, I've been playing with a really great group of guys called Mallards, and that's been really kind of blowing up. And there's such great dudes and fun dudes to play with, and we've been playing so many great shows. We've got a big. We just opened up for Social Animals last Friday night at Pizza Luce, and that was just fantastic. Just a packed house. We played well. We had fun. It was just a spectacular night. Coming up on the Saturday, the 23rd, we've got a big show at the Caddy Shack, and that should be a lot of fun too. shoot, I apologize. I don't remember. There's a couple other bands playing that night as well, but I don't remember exactly who.
Oh, that's okay.
Who we nailed down, but we are. So that's the main thing for me is that we're playing that night.
Yes,
and
excellent.
That should be fun. Caddyshack is a great room. They've been hosting a open jam night on Tuesdays. It just started recently, and that's incredibly fun. And everybody should check that out. Make it happen. Get down to the Caddyshack on a Tuesday night. It's a fantastic jam session. And then that's a big deal for us because that is our EP release party. We, speaking of recordings and home studios and whatnot, we recorded a short EP. I forget how many songs are going to end up being on it, but we're going to be releasing it on download cards and cassette.
Taking it back.
Actually, not only are we releasing it on cassette, you can buy the cassette at the show. You can also buy a cassette player at the show because guess what? We've got cassette players we're going to be selling as well.
What?
With the cassette. Yeah, I know. Crazy.
You know, Andy, I was actually just talking to someone about this very thing that, you know, more and more indie bands are releasing their music on, you know, vinyl and cassette. Just for nostalgia and things like that. But, you know, cars don't come with cassette players anymore. So that's really cool.
They barely come with CD players.
Exactly. That's really cool that you're going to sell them. Now, let me ask you this. Where did you find the cassette players? I mean, do they even make them anymore?
They do. They do make cassette players again. I think it's starting to be a thing, almost like turntables, where you couldn't really find them anywhere, and then gradually they sort of got more popular. People started caring. Like when I bought my turntable back in 2000. Yeah, back in like 99 or 2000, you couldn't find turntables anywhere. Nobody sold turntables. I went to Best Buy and they had one old beat up box with a turntable in it there that was an open box item. I got it home and I hooked it up, and of course the arm, it got to the end of the record and it didn't lift up and go back to, you know, the rest it didn't lift up and turn off like it's supposed to because it was an automatic turntable. So it was a little faulty. You know, it was the only one they had. But the point is, you couldn't just go buy them anywhere. And now, you know, you can buy a turntable in just about any record store or department store. You know, everybody's got turntables. You can buy them at Mallards. And cassette players, I don't know, man. The cassette thing, I feel like people are trying to make it like vinyl, like it's this cool retro thing. I don't see it taking off the same way that vinyl sort of had such a huge resurgence. I mean, cassettes, they're kind of cool, but I don't think it's going to turn into the same kind of a thing. So I don't know, but I've got a nice cassette player that I just have because I have so many old cassettes of recordings I made in high school that I wanted to transfer to MP3. So I've got, you know, my first band was called Dahmer Breakfast back in '95, and it was just me and one other guy, and we made all these cassette tape recordings in his basement. And now those are on my computer and go listen to them anytime. And I still have the originals packed away somewhere, but. So for me, it was important to have a cassette player so that I could take all the old cassette 8-track recordings I made back in the day and, you know, put them online if I cared to. But yeah, we did source some Walkmans and things like that from eBay in order to have something to you know, provide people if they don't have the means to play a cassette tape.
Oh man, a Walkman? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man,
you're
taking it way back. You're taking that way back.
Oh yeah.
Excellent. I am so glad you guys are thinking ahead and also thinking of the customer.
Yes.
Excellent. So how did you guys, so you did the home studio thing with this EP then?
Well, we recorded it at somebody else's home studio down in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
And then we brought it up here, and our bass player, Coke, has been mixing it and tweaking it and stuff in his home studio. And now we're about to send it off to Jake Larson, who is going to master it in his home studio. So, well, I suppose his isn't really a home studio. He just has a studio. But
he does work
Jake
for
Larson,
Sacred Heart.
He's just great. I've been recording with Jake Larson pretty much since I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in his old studio on 3rd Street back in probably 2004, 2005. But yeah, it should be a fun show. We're excited to release a recording after being together for so long, and hopefully we'll have a full length album coming soon once we can get back in the studio and get our plan next is to record an album, but actually go into a real studio and do it the professional way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Would you go to a studio up here, or are you looking at one down in the cities, or is it too early to tell?
Well, I know a few ideas have been thrown around. I don't want to say anything in particular, but I know there's a couple places that are pretty well known that we would enjoy to work with once we have got the band fund up to a spot where it can handle that sort of an expense.
Yeah, of course. Well, Andy, that's awesome that you guys are releasing an EP this month and on tape, no less. Very cool, sir. Very cool.
And we'll have download cards too,
and
so nobody has to worry too much if they don't want to deal with the whole tape thing.
But what if they want to? And they can, because you're selling Walkmans as well.
Yes. A limited number, but we will have them there.
Wonderful, Andy. Wonderful. So beyond the Mallards, what's next on your docket? Any solo shows?
Yeah, I actually I have a really fun duo that I play with. It's me and my buddy George on cajon.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of his last name. Well, anyway, my buddy George plays cajon, and we've been doing a duo that plays once or twice a month for about the last year or so.
Okay.
And we do an acoustic thing that's kind of a smorgasbord of just different things, because I like to play so many different kinds of music that we do a ton of Grateful Dead covers, we do classic country, we do originals, we usually do a set of like 12-string instrumentals where I do kind of a sort of a Leo Kottke inspired kind of a 12-string thing. It's all over the place. It's just like whatever we want to jam on is just what happens. But it's generally kind of blues, country, classic rock. Just it's kind of all over the place. I mean, and then the instrumental little jams here and there. But it's more fun than anything else. But it's something that I put together just because Duluth is so conducive to acoustic music with all the little venues we have that my louder bands couldn't always play at. I played in I mentioned the Fiasco earlier. It's a power trio, me and a bass player and a drummer, playing pretty heavy music, not metal really, but about as heavy as you can get. Stoner rock, I think, is what you would call it.
Okay, all right.
and it was a little difficult. It's a little difficult up here for a heavier band to get traction. So I thought, okay, I've got the Mallards thing going, but we only play once a month, basically, sometimes twice, but usually once a month. I need to be playing more than once a month. So I said, well, let me put together an acoustic set, and we'll start playing around all these little places. So we play Little Angie's, we play Thirsty Pagan, we play Sir Ben's, we play Carmody's, we play Players Sports Bar. I know was other places too that I'm not thinking of, but
yeah.
But we've been doing pretty well with that. So between doing Mallards once or twice a month, doing my solo thing once or twice a month, and then going out to like the Caddyshack Jam session every couple of weeks, I keep myself pretty busy.
I'll say, and you have a full-time job on top of that, and then a plethora of children and animals.
I do. Yep, I have a full-time job. I do restaurant maintenance. I'm the maintenance man for a company that owns a handful of restaurants in the area, and so I do that, and I watch my kids. But yes, the point is, I'm very busy, but luckily I'm able to fit lots and lots of music into my schedule and have that happen in such a way that my home life and my work life don't suffer. So I'm very fortunate.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Time management skills.
Yeah, never a dull moment.
Doesn't sound like it. Not with 2 cats, a dog, and 4 snakes.
No, you know what? If there's one thing I can't stand in life, it's to be bored.
Oh.
So I'm always doing stuff. I'm always doing stuff. Just I get into different hobbies. I get into different interests, and I just I'm always trying to learn new things, read new things, visit new places. It's hard for me to sit still and just not be doing something with my time, because I just turned 40 last month, and I think when you start to get towards middle age, you start to think, okay, this is the time I have to do the stuff I want to do, so I better do it.
Right. Right. I get that. Wise words, sir. Thank you.
Anytime.
And now, Andy, you had mentioned earlier that you had recorded with Jake Larson many times. What was that like, recording with one of Duluth's many masters?
He's a staple. He's like one of those Duluth, like if there was going to be a cartoon show about Duluth, he'd be one of the characters.
Oh yeah.
Like him and Joey Flynn probably, and who I've also played with a billion times. At certain others, but Jake Larson is a staple of the music scene in Duluth. That's kind of an obvious thing to say because everybody knows that he's been recording people and he's been playing with people, and he's been running sound for so many. He's just everywhere. He's just sort of one of those pillars of the Duluth music thing. Not to crawl up his ass too much, but but he is. He's a big deal, and he was always a lot of fun to work with. It's been I think it's been a couple years since I've been in the studio with him, but it was always fun. It was always pretty loose, and it's nice to work with somebody like him or just somebody who really knows what they're doing, because you walk in, everything's set up. All you have to know how to do is play your instrument.
Oh, there you go.
And the trouble with a home studio or somebody who has a home studio is that you're not just playing your instrument. Now you got to kind of figure out, okay, where do I put the mic? What mic do I use? How do I mix that? And suddenly you've got to know all this other stuff, and you're kind of just, a lot of times you're kind of just learning as you go, which can be fine, but there's really something to be said with working with somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. And all you have to do is go in and play the music, and then, a week later they hand you a disc. And it just takes a lot of the nonsense out of the recording process is to work with somebody like Jake or like Rich Mattson, who I would love to work with someday, but I haven't recorded with Rich yet, but I hope to sooner than later. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to work in a professional studio and have stuff turn out the way you want it to turn out.
Excellent, Andy. Excellent. Well, hopefully you get to work with Jake again soon, and Rich as well. Rich Mattson owns and runs a Sparta Sound studio out in Sparta, Minnesota. Yeah, he and Jermaine are a huge staple around here as well. So, yes, I think if there was a cartoon about Duluth, it'd be like Jake Larson is the inner city one, and then like Rich and Jermaine are out in the backwoods a little bit, and yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Well, fun. Andy, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with me and to share your thoughts on Duluth and being the hired gun of Duluth as well. Thank you.
Well, I hope I have many more shootouts coming.
Oh, definitely. It sounds like it. It sounds like it. So good luck to you and the Mallards. I hope you sell every single Walkman and tape that you've made of your EPs. So.
Well, we'll see. And thank you for having me on the show. I'm really intensely flattered that you would want to chat with me for a while.
Oh, of course, Andy, of course. Like I said, you're the hired gun of Duluth. How could I not? All right. Well, Andy, have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.